Hello. By now, we are familiar with the Closius theorem, which is nothing but the reversible part of the mathematical statement of second law of thermodynamics, which is usually represented as uh, an integral, closed integral over a reversible path R d bar q over t is equal to 0. Always remember that this relationship is holding good for any reversible cycle. For any reversible cycle, this integral should be equal to 0, and this is what we call as the Closius theorem. Closius theorem, to be very precise. Now, starting from Closius theorem, we will try to define entropy mathematically. So the Closius theorem serves as the beginning point to define entropy exactly, or at least change in entropy exactly. So let's see how to do that. So for this, you consider the Vogt diagram here, where the generalized force and generalized displacement are plotted along y and x axis respectively, and a thermodynamic process undergone by a system is represented. Let I and F be the initial and final states of any system, and let the system be undergoing a process along the path R1, which is reversible, and from F, let the system come back to the initial state along another reversible path labeled as R2. So both R1 and R2 are any two reversible paths. Any two reversible paths. So we can say that I, F, and then back to I represents a cyclic reversible path that is taken up by a system. Both I and F are the two equilibrium states of the system, where the values of thermodynamic variables are exactly defined. Now, since the two paths form a reversible cycle, we can use the Closius theorem. You know, the Closius theorem is applicable for any reversible cycle. So we can apply the Closius theorem to our path. So let me rewrite the Closius theorem, the same equation. I'm rewriting it for the present context. So by Closius theorem, I can write integral. So same thing, only I'm rewriting it, integral, to represent that it is a closed path or closed cyclic path. I'm representing this circle, and only in order to denote or specify that it's along R1 and R2. Instead of this R, I am making it more specific, writing R1, R2 with reference to the label used in the diagram. R1, R2, d bar q over t is equal to 0. So let me begin from here. So this is from Closius theorem to the particular path. Now we can represent, or we can express this integral as a sum of two integrals, one for path R1 and the other for path R2. Means we are breaking this integral into two different integrals. How can you write that? So we can write this one as integral You can always break up an integral like this. Be careful about the limits. So I'm writing this one as from I to f. I to f. Along which path? Along the path R1. So let me write that is along the path R1. So first one. So this is the thing that I'm discussing. D bar Q by T. D bar Q by T plus what should be the second integral so that it becomes a cyclic path? It will be integral from again. So we have reached f. So I should go back to I. So my limit should be f to I. And we are following another reversible path R2. So let me specify that R2. Then again D bar Q by T. And that's once again equal to 0. So just what we have done is that we have converted a closed path into two paths, right? We have broken the integral into two parts. That's all. So that is why that closed symbol is now removed. Okay. First integral plus second integral will form a closed path. So we need not put the close sign again in the integrals. Okay, now let's rearrange this one again. So all these things can be done in a single stretch, but for clarity we are doing it. Integral from I to f along the path R1 only to represent d bar q over t, it will be equal to minus of integral from f to I over another reversible path R2 of d bar q over t. Okay, and see this paths are reversible. Of course, you can just invert this integral. Therefore, okay. So what I can do is that I can get rid of this negative sign by just interchanging the limits of the integral. So what will be that? It will be again equal to integral. Instead of f to I should make it as again I to f, and I avoid that negative sign here. So this negative sign is avoided. Okay. So simple rule of limits of integration d bar q by t. But the path remains the same. That is what? R2. Right? So what is the meaning? Just have a look at this particular equation. See whether you go from I to f along a reversible path R1 like this, or you go from the same I to f along another reversible path R2. See that I am putting now the arrows in the reverse. Okay, you are going from I to f either along R1 or along what? R2. That is what is shown here. Also I to f along R1, here also I to f along R2, and you calculate the value of the quantity d bar q over t. Then for these two paths, this integral should have the same value. Or I can say that, so let me say that this is my second equation. So what is the conclusion? The conclusion is that we have chosen R1 and R2 as any two arbitrary paths. Arbitrarily we have chosen this one. So it's true for any reversible path which connects I and f. Okay, so we can conclude that the integral I to f d bar q, what will be the mathematical conclusion? D bar q over t is the same, or it is the same for all reversible paths. So that is something very, very important. It is the same for all reversible paths. So to denote that, if you want, you can put an R here. Okay, even if that R is missing, see, once you write that it is true for all reversible paths, it's true. So this is true for all reversible paths. Okay, connecting the two equilibrium states, not connecting I and f. We have defined I and f as the any two equilibrium states of the system, right? Or can you conclude that, or in other words, this integral okay, is independent of the path. Is independent of the, that way also you can just say it is true for all paths, or it is same for all paths means what? It is independent of the reversible paths. It's independent of the, this is something very important, please. Reversible paths. Reversible paths between I and F. Between I and F. So let's pause here and think. It means that this integral is not, this integral represents, this particular integral for any reversible path R can represent some sort of a function, or you can say this function can correspond to some physical quantity which is not known to us now, as of now. So we can say that from these conclusions, there may exist, or there exists, a function of the coordinates of the system. There exists a function of the thermodynamic coordinates of the system which has got a definite value at I and another definite value at F, and the difference between these two values is independent of the path chosen, reversible path chosen. Okay, so we can say that there exists a state function. Okay, here it is independent of path, so we can say that there exists a state function whose value at the final state, minus its value at the initial state, that will be equal to this integral. So there exists a state function whose value at the final state minus its value at the initial state is equal to this particular integral, because we have already seen that the value of this integral is independent of the reversible path, and it depends only on the initial and final states. So we have the freedom to define it like this. So let me just go to the next page. Therefore, that's a conclusion. Therefore, there exists, or we can define such a function, existence of a function can be defined. There exists a function of what? Function of the thermodynamic coordinates like pressure, volume, temperature, etc. There exists a function for the system, for a system. There exists a function for a system whose value at the final state, at F, I can say at F denotes the final state, minus its value at the initial state, at I, is equal to the integral, is equal to the integral. Which integral? Integral I to F over any reversible path R d bar q by t. So we can see that this quantity denotes a state function. So this quantity is denoting the difference between two values of a state function, and it was Rudolf Clausius who identified the possibility for existence of such a function, and he named this state function as what is known as entropy, and this state function was defined as entropy. Okay, and how do we do that? Let me go to the previous thing. What's the meaning? What he meant is this one. So if you associate a new thermodynamic function, if you define a new thermodynamic function having a value s I, having a value s I at the state I and s f at the state f, such that whether you move along the path R1 or you move along the path R2, R1 and R2 being reversible, the difference between SF and SI will be always independent of the path followed, and that difference is given by integral d bar q over t from I to f. Okay, so that is the way in which it defined. So that is I can write that sf is the value of that function at the final state minus si, the value of that function at the initial state, that will be equal to this integral that we have defined. What is that integral? That is integral from I to f over any reversible path. Okay, d bar q over t, d bar q over t. So this is the way in which entropy was mathematically defined by Clausius. So this is the Clausius definition or Clausius introduction, Clausius definition, and this definition came in the year 1865. You can see that years back. Clausius definition of thermodynamic definition of entropy. So one thing to be noted is that this equation do not define what is S equal to. It only defines what is change in the function. Change in entropy is defined thermodynamically. Thermodynamics do not define absolute entropy at a particular point or of a system. It just defines the change in entropy during a process. That is to be taken care of. And that is one limitation of thermodynamics. Using thermodynamics, we do not define what is the entropy of the system at a particular state. No. Instead, what we do, we consider processes, thermodynamic processes, in which the system may be going from one initial state to the final state. And for the thermodynamic process, we will be able to calculate what is the change in entropy. And that is what is defined or given by the Clausius definition. That is why on the left side we have written SF minus SI. So our conclusions are here under. We can say that entropy change of the system is not, I can call entropy change. Therefore, entropy change. This is not entropy. Remember, we are defining entropy change, or change in entropy is defined. Entropy change of a system is independent of the path. Independent of the path. Remember, we have considered only what kind of a path? Reversible. Okay. Remember this always, for reversible process. So far we didn't touch upon irreversible process. For that we have to do separately. Okay. Clausius inequality we have to begin with, and we will be discussing it later. Okay. So that is the thing. But the thing that you remember, that the heat entering the system will be depending on the path between the states I and F. Okay. So that is one thing. So, or in other words, we can say that entropy change or entropy, okay, is a state function. Why we are not able to define absolute value of entropy is because we'll see that for that we have to find out a point where the entropy of the system is zero, and later the second law of thermodynamics is not able to predict the zero of the entropy. Instead, for that maybe you recall that the zero of the entropy corresponds to temperature tending to absolute zero, and that was coined as the third law of thermodynamics very late. Okay, so in the light of the second law of thermodynamics, we do not define absolute value of the entropy. Instead, we always define the change in entropy of the system during a process. Okay, right. Now if so this is SF minus SI, so I can replace, if you want, as this one as delta S, any finite change. Okay, it's any finite change, delta S. There is no condition that the change is small. Okay, because we are doing that integration here, so the integration represents that it's for any finite change. Now if the two states I and F in our picture, the two equilibrium states that we are dealing with, if they are very close to each other, so what's the meaning? Then the change in entropy delta S also will be infinitesimally small. So I can say that therefore, and that's what we usually prefer, for infinitesimal change of entropy, for infinitesimal change of entropy, for infinitesimal change of entropy, that is, what's the meaning? I and F are very close. That's only meaning. Okay, very close. The two equilibrium states are not farther apart. They are infinitesimally close. Then you can rewrite this equation. We call this one some equation number 3 or whatever it is. Okay. Then equation number 3 can be rewritten. It can be rewritten as, I need not use then this integration and all, right? Integration corresponds to going from any initial state to any final state along any reversible path. So I'm just taking, instead of delta S, for infinitesimal changes, we'll be writing ds. That is our standard mathematical symbol notation. So ds will be equal to d bar q by t. You can see that I have get rid of the integral. But still, this equation holds only for what kind of a process? Reversible process. So the r that I used to write here, I'm going to shift and write it here. So this is the way in which it is defined. For infinitesimal changes in the entropy, it's given by this standard equation. And this is the equation that we will be using as the defining equation for entropy change. Remember, I am not using entropy, but entropy change or change in entropy. So ds, the infinitesimal change in entropy during a reversible process, is given by d bar q upon t, where what is d bar q? D bar q is the heat transfer. Maybe it's a heat input or it is the heat lost that happens at a temperature T. So in words, I can put it like this. If we supply an infinitesimal amount of heat d bar q, if we supply an infinitesimal amount of heat d bar q to a system, or you remove it from the system reversibly, that's something very, very important. Reversibly, this R denotes the reversible nature. Reversibly at a fixed temperature T. Okay, you know why this T is constant? That's because of you go back to our Clausius theorem. Hope you remember that any path IF can be replaced with a sequence of zigzag paths or a series of paths consisting of adiabatic and isothermal paths, and the heat exchange during adiabatic components will be 0, and whatever heat that enters the system during the original or along the original path can be approximated or can be made equal to the heat that is entering during the isothermal part of the zigzag path. So during isothermal part, you know, the temperature is remaining constant. So this T, what denotes is the equivalent temperature of the equivalent isothermal path. So that is the thing. So d bar q r by T. So I repeat, if we supply an infinitesimal amount of heat d bar q to a system reversibly at a temperature T, the entropy of the system changes by d bar q by T. The entropy of the system changes by d bar q by T. Changes means it can either increase or decrease depending on whether you are giving the energy or you are taking the energy. If you give the energy to a system, its entropy tends to increase. But if you remove the energy from a system, its entropy will tend to decrease, right? And so I think this is an equation that is worth remembering. And there is something that you have to note here. On the left side, ds is a, what that I can say, s is a state function. So what about ds? The differentials of state functions are exact differentials. Hope you remember exact and inexact differentials. So the differential of a state function is always an exact differential. But on the right side, on the numerator, you are writing d bar q. What is this bar denoting always? Heat is a path dependent function, and so this d bar q is an inexact differential. So that is a discussion of the mathematical property of this particular equation. So it is an inexact differential, and you can see that this equation number 4 is connecting an exact differential on left side with what, an inexact differential on the other side. And mathematically speaking, an inexact differential can be converted into an exact one by introducing what is known as an integrating factor. And that's a bit of mathematics. Okay, an inexact differential can be converted into an exact differential by introducing what is known as an integrating factor. So if you think along that line mathematically, you can see that, can you just compare and find out which one will be that integrating factor here? You can see that this 1 by t will be serving as the integrating factor here, because this 1 by t will serve the role of an integrating factor. Okay, you can just forget about this what statement I have made now, because that is only to tell you that many times you may have a have an issue like, how can an exact differential can be just converted to an inexact differential or equated to. That is possible mathematically. Okay, and that's a matter of introducing an integrating factor, and this particular thing is serving as an integrating factor here. Okay, so if you rewrite this equation 4, I can rewrite this equation 4 better. I can rewrite this equation 4 as d bar qr, or in other terms, d bar qr can be always written as what? TdS. Or I can say the reversible heat transfer can be related to the entropy change and the temperature at which the transfer occurs. Okay, so d bar qr is equal to TdS. Let me call this equation as what? 5, equation number 5. Okay, and can you just can you just recall any other thermodynamic equation which sounds very similar to this equation number 5? Any other equation which sounds very similar to this equation number 5? Okay, can you think of some equation like this? We have used, let me write it here itself. Okay, so we have used equations like dw is not general equation in mechanics, dw equal to f dx, dw equal to f dx. Okay, so can't you see that dw is something like actually we are supposed to write d bar w, because work in general is inexact, right? So can't you see that it's looking very similar like this? So corresponding to d bar q, there is d bar w, and corresponding to t, the temperature, you have got f, and corresponding to x, you have got what? S. Okay, and hope you, or you can rewrite this one in another way. So you can write with some PdV, is not? D bar w is equal to PdV for hydrostatic systems. Maybe due to sign convention, there will be a negative sign and all. Negative sign and all comes due to the sign convention that we are adopting in our particular case. If you adopt the opposite sign convention, there will be a plus PdV, you know that. Okay, so you can always compare this one. So you know that in this equation, this P was what is known as an what you can say that P is a intensive variable, and this dV is actually an extensive variable, right? So it's very similar to this one, P and dV. Similarly, T and ds. So if you compare, so P is intensive. I want to just make a comparison, that's all. Intensive, and V is extensive, right? V is what? Extensive. So similarly, you can see that this T is what? So what you can expect? Temperature, you know, it is intensive. It is independent of the mass of the system, right? It's defined at every point in the system. And so what you can say about the nature of this entropy? Okay, so even using the similarity itself, we can tell that entropy is an extensive parameter. Entropy is an extensive parameter. That's something very, very important that you keep. Entropy is an extensive parameter. What does it mean? It means that, you know, that the extensive parameters are additive in nature. Hope you remember that. So you, for example, you have got volume V1 and volume V2. You have got, okay, you know, see like two boxes having volume V1 and V2. If you combine the two boxes and remove the separation between them, what will be the total volume of the system, combined system? That will be just simply V1 plus V2, it should be, right? If you just combine it, right? Okay, the same manner, suppose that you have got a system, right? If you have got a system, and if suppose that there is an imaginary partition here, let the system be having, subsystems be having S1 entropy and S2 entropy. If you remove this particular subsystem, then the total entropy of the system should be what? S1 plus S2. Like the volume is getting added for the composite system, the entropy also will be additive in nature. So remember this fact. The entropy is also an example of an extensive parameter. So let me conclude it like this. The corresponding to the quantity pressure in thermodynamics, which is an intensive variable, there is a corresponding quantity volume, which is an extensive. So pressure is intensive, and the conjugate variable, thermodynamic variable in thermodynamics, will be volume. So one is intensive, this is what? Extensive. Similarly, you always remember that corresponding to the intensive variable temperature in thermodynamics, there is a companion. There is a companion. I call conjugate variable as a companion variable. Okay? And who is the companion which was missing so far? The missing companion was entropy. The missing companion was entropy. So that T and S will be always combined without any problem. Okay? So it was a suggestion of Rudolf Clausius that in order to completely describe a thermodynamic system, we need a new physical variable in addition to pressure, volume, temperature, and internal energy. So in addition to pressure, volume, temperature, and internal energy, Rudolf Clausius demanded that there should be, or it will be always useful if we have an additional thermodynamic variable that is defined. And that is why, and that was the motivation to find out such a variable which is extensive in nature, which can pair up with the intensive variable Ts. And this is a matter that you can keep in mind. It will be useful for you. Remember always, in thermodynamic equations, if you find combinations of variables, you will see that always PV will be occurring in many of the equations. For example, PV equal to nRT, right? PV will be coming together as a product. Similarly, you will see that thereafter, whenever there is a temperature, okay, so the temperature will be always having companionship, friendship with the S. T and S will be always combined. Okay. Similarly, there is one more pair like this in thermodynamics, which I will introduce later, but I will tell you here. So number of particles N and chemical potential mu. Okay, so these two pairs will be just getting added up, right? So PV, TS, you can always see. I don't know whether you remember when I introduced the syllabus or learning objective of this module, I told you about TS diagrams. Okay, TS diagrams known as temperature entropy diagrams. So far we studied about indicator diagrams with otherwise known as PV diagrams. So similar to PV diagrams, there is a possibility of drawing another diagram which is known as TS diagram, and we will do that shortly. Okay, And similarly, see, I told you about in the syllabus TDS equations. TDS equations. You can now think of that. What is this TDS? From where this TDS? So from here only this TDS comes. So all these things can be of use for you. Okay. So when you go ahead. So this is where I just conclude the session. We could define change in entropy during a reversible process by equation number 4 as ds is equal to d bar q r by t. Okay, d bar q r by t, from which you can write d bar q r is equal to TDS. That is an equation that should be remembered hereafter. And from this one, you can find out what will be the unit of entropy. The SI unit of entropy. What will be the SI unit of entropy? Entropy and change in entropy all will have the same units. So I think equation number 4 will help you to define what will be the unit of entropy. So you can see equation number 4. It is entropy change is equal to d bar q. What is q? Q is energy. What is the unit of energy? That is joules. Okay. And what is the SI unit of temperature? That is Kelvin. So what will be the SI unit of entropy? That is something very important. Joule per Kelvin. So this is a point that is worth remembering. So joule per Kelvin. Entropy, the unit is joule per Kelvin. So we conclude the session like this. Entropy is the extensive counterpart. What is counterpart? Companion of the intensive variable temperature. Always remember it that way. Entropy was that missing quantity who should be paired up with what? Temperature in all those energy equations. And you will see that you multiply temperature with entropy, dimensionally you check it. Okay, what will be the dimension of temperature into entropy? Temperature, it is Kelvin. So we have seen entropy, the unit is what? Joule per Kelvin. So multiply or cancel Kelvin with Kelvin. So what will be the dimension of TS? T into S will be joule, the dimension of energy. So hope you remember that the dimension of PV, pressure into volume. Okay, that also will be what? Joules, energy. That's why I told you PV is representing some energy. Similarly, TS is also representing. Temperature into entropy will represent what? Energy. Okay, so always note this dimensionality also. Okay, so that's a discussion of the mathematical definition of entropy. See that you revise this topic, you read the given material soon after you listen to the video also. Okay, and we will discuss more about entropy and irreversible part of the second law of mathematics, second law of thermodynamics in the coming videos. Thank you.